it off. Let me kick it off. So,
yeah,
guys, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat. Bare Knuckle Dog Training on Instagram. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Guys, Kehli Walton. Did I say that right?
Kehli.
Yep. Guys, first off, if there's kids in the room, maybe this is an episode not for kids. There might be some cursing. But if you love dogs, if you love behavior modification, if you love dog training, this is an episode you're going to want to listen to. Welcome back to another episode of Doggy Stoic. First off, we're recording this on a Sunday. There's some background noise over there.
Yeah, here, let me get that. Let me take care of that.
Is that your printer going?
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Are you printing out notes?
There you go. You good now?
Yeah. Were you printing out notes for the episode?
Yeah, for sure. I was doing all my homework on you. I got a CIA fucking draft ready.
Guys,
it's a folder.
We'll get into the origin story of Kehli, how he trains and all that. But this week I made a ton of videos for you guys on how negative reinforcement, and basically negative reinforcement is leash pressure and holding a dog accountable to things using little tiny bits of pressure sets them up for success for their entire life. I couldn't believe more in negative reinforcement. I even use the analogy to my clients of like, red light turns green, you're on your phone, someone honks. When you move, the honking stops. It's how we learn. It's how animals learn. So Kehli said, if you want to get me going, get me started on negative reinforcement. Why is that specific topic or learning style so important to you?
I think it's because nobody actually understands it. And I mean, like, that sounds like a higher than thou thing, but like, truly, I go online, right? You go on the internet, and like, there are hundreds of thousands of trainers across the world. And very rarely do I ever see people nailing on the head negative reinforcement outside of the Google definition of you type in the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning and you get that fucking PDF of all the quadrants, and people are like, oh, well, negative reinforcement is subtraction of uncomfortable thing. And that's where trainers stop. Like, that's where 90% of people stop. They don't like dig into it any further. I did a video on the gram not long ago about it was me explaining negative reinforcement to a client, right? And it was showing the client like what negative reinforcement is and how we're using it in its like limited capacity there for a client to hold their dog accountable, right? There's so much more to it than that, but just to holding her dog accountable, we were talking about negative reinforcement, and I posted that, and I had a definition that it's not my definition. It was a definition I got from a study. It's cited in there and everything. And you wouldn't believe the amount of people that I got on there that just like totally missed the point, had no idea what the fuck I was talking about, right? And for me, that's bad. That's an injustice, I think, for 90% of dog owners. That's why like negative reinforcement will get me going, because it's like, when I first started dog training, like I had no fucking clue what it was. I had no idea. And nobody could explain it to me in a way that mattered. Like nobody could explain it to me in a way that was good. Like I went to, I won't name names, but I went to a certain school that really like heavily emphasizes electric collar. And that was literally the total understanding of negative reinforcement, was that it's one of the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning, and that it's a subtraction of an uncomfortable stimulus to encourage a behavior. But like, if we're really like chatting, dude, like there is so much more to negative reinforcement. And it's not just like, oh, hey, we can use it to hold the dog accountable, because that's where normally it starts and stops. But it is a wonderful teaching tool, starting the teaching process with negative reinforcement, not luring with food and then going to negative reinforcement. Starting with negative reinforcement has so many more benefits than starting with food luring or starting with any kind of like positive reinforcement.
How did you get here? So like, why did you get into dog training? What was like your first methodology? And then how did you arrive at this conclusion? Hint for you guys, he's 100% right. I just want to get the origin story, because sometimes like where we are in our lives, it gives us a lot more context to know where we came from to before here.
Yeah.
So how did you start? Like, why did you become a dog trainer? How did you arrive at this point?
So when I started dog training, it's probably like every dog trainer's got this same origin. Like, it's you go and you get a dog, that's a lot, and you're like, oh no, something's got to change here. And when I was younger, I had a lot of dogs. Unfortunately, I grew up in a not great environment, so my attachment to dogs was a little unhealthy. I relied on dogs far more than I think anyone else really does. Like my dogs took a lot of beatings that were meant for me, and I really, really, really got attached to them for stuff like that, and I get like really like emotional talking about it. So like my dog training journey kind of started when I got a rescue dog from a guy, didn't want her anymore, and I was like, all right, hey, I'll take her. It was Christmas Day actually, 5 years ago, Christmas Day. And I snatched her up and I was like, all right, cool. What do we do now? She was ripping out my drywall, tearing my fucking blinds down. Like, it was horrible. Separation anxiety was bad. She was reactive on walks. It was just like the whole everything you don't want in a dog is
How old and what breed?
She's a mutt of something. She's my white. She looks like a German Shepherd. She's a white, like shepherdy looking dog. And she was a year old when I got her.
Gotcha.
She, like, the guy who had her before wasn't super keen on like dog stuff, so she was crated with other dogs. So she was like super into eating like dog shit, and like there was just like it was not a good situation.
It was a lot of problems at the age where a lot of problems develop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you living alone at this time?
No. I live with my wife and my dad. He's a disabled veteran, and
awesome.
So I'm one of his primary caregivers.
Thank you for his service.
Oh, I appreciate that.
It was just Veterans Day, actually, so double thank you.
It was, yeah, yep.
Okay, so you get her, and what do you try?
Pretty much everything. You go on the internet and you Google dog training, and you get the Tom Davis, you get the Robert Cabral, you get the Zach George, and so you go through kind of the normal kind of, we'll start with Zach George, and then you go to Robert Cabral because he seems approachable, and then you're like, well, hey, I want to learn about these prong things, and then you go to fucking Tom Davis, and then you kind of go through and you're watching all the videos you can, you're getting all you can, and you stumble upon the Michael Ellis's, the Forest Mix, which are gold, by the way. Wonderful. Those guys are fucking phenomenal. But you then you watch Learberg videos and blah, blah, blah. So I get kind of the basics, which I think everybody starts with. 4 quadrants of operant conditioning, understanding leash pressure, walking a dog through aversives, little things like that. Understanding like the basic ways that you can utilize these things. And I think most trainers probably start there. Then once you get past that, you end up in this like middle realm where you want to try and do this professionally, but you might not actually have the skill for it. And for me, it was I was driving to go get donuts for my wife. This was during like this was a while ago. I was going to get donuts for her, and she was sick. I can't remember if it was COVID or not, but she was sick. I was driving to go get donuts for her, and I saw this dude not far from me who had a couple mouths, and I wanted a mouth. Like, I wanted a mouth bad. And so I pull in, I got talking with him, I chatted with him for a bit, and he gave me my first job as a dog trainer. We did not end on good terms, but he gave me my first job as a dog trainer.
What did you say to him?
I just kind of was like, I want that dog. I want as many of those as I can get, and I want to work as much as I can with dogs.
And you're still in this stage of like, I just find dogs randomly throughout life. So here might be a dog. This guy might be giving it up. I already bought some donuts. My wife can't eat all of these. Here's a donut for your mouth.
Pretty much, dude. And I pulled I had Lupa in the car with me because that Lupa was my shepherd. That dog goes everywhere with me pretty much.
That's awesome.
And so I had her in the car with me, and I pulled her out and I did a little demo. And at this point, she was pretty well trained. Like, she knew spin, sit, like middle. I had her in French because I fancied myself a little fucking Mondio enjoyer.
So you're like Mr. Steal Your Girl. You're like, look how good I am here, dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like, please,
Come on,
what do you
man.
think?
Okay.
So he ended up actually being the owner of a franchise, not like around here. And he gave me my first job because he saw that, which I'm looking back, I'm like, why would you do that? Like as a trainer now, I'm like, that's a horrible idea. Because it's like I trained one dog. My entire career at that point, I trained one dog, my dog.
Initiative, kindness, skills.
Yeah.
And you're able to approach and have a conversation. It's not just one dog, it's all the package of skills.
Sure. Needless to say, I got kind of just thrown in. He needed B-mods done. I had no fucking clue what I was doing, but he was like, do them. And so I was just, within like 2 weeks of starting dog training professionally, I was getting thrown into like aggression cases, reactivity, like really bad cases that I certainly should not have been touching at that time. But no one else was doing it.
Short leash obedience was kind of the
yeah, the Tom Davis style stuff, the lead the dog to place, click reward, like very short leash, very like within 4 feet of me kind of stuff. And throughout that time, I knew like there was like a period of time there where we weren't, where the franchise was still really small. So we were able to I was taking the dogs home with me. I was able to experiment a lot. I was able to do a lot of stuff with it. And I was able to really enjoy the process. Where it ended up kind of falling apart was after he got a building and a franchise, and the dogs had to stay with him. And then it became, or in the building. And then like, it was just like your typical like franchise obedience where it's put the dogs on place, then walk them around, that kind of shit. And that's really where I started to like butt heads. And so I ended up doing this like, I ended up just saying kind of like, fuck it, I'll do whatever I want, and kind of continuing down this path of experimentation. And as we were doing it, I'm still doing like, these are 14-day programs, like super fast turnarounds. And then some of the B mods I was doing were literally like bare minimum 4 weeks only. You could not go over that. Right. And I'm getting dog after dog after dog. I did not meet the dogs beforehand. We were just getting assigned these dogs, and I'm having to wing it and figure it out. And that's really, I think, where a lot of growth happened. I ended up like a lot of my obedience didn't look very good at the time because I'm trying to solve behavioral issues.
Right.
And like with my limited knowledge at the time, it wasn't really like a thing. I worked there for like a year and a half.
Kehli, what were most of the issues? Was it like B mods?
It was like aggression and pretty bad reactivity. So like dogs were biting people, like pretty bad aggression. I have surprisingly a lot of dogs that are like aggressive in my area, like a stupid amount of aggression cases.
Where are you?
Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's all the military that come in and out all the time, but yeah, I think like there's a stupid amount of aggression.
Did you ever get bit?
Yeah. Like a lot.
Do you remember a dog or like a moment? Was it like share a story with that?
So my personal dog Mushu here, actually, that guy, that one, he bit a chunk out of my ass.
But that's playing.
Oh no, he was not playing. No, he was not playing. No, I got him. So he was dropped off. The person who dropped him off went to jail. So I ended up having him for like 5 weeks straight, just working with him, doing whatever I could with him. And because they were gone and they were not coming back, they ended up selling him or wanting to sell him. And he was not fucking around. Like, he was nice, but like there was, another side to him.
If you guys are listening, this is a Mao.
Yeah, he's a Mao. And like, so there was another side to him. And he was not playing around. He took just to give you perspective, my leather belt was in half when I took it off. So like I was bleeding all down my leg. I still have a chunk out of my butt taken out. He chewed my belt completely in half, and I fell in love with him.
So, okay, I'm painting this picture of Kehli. So thrown into basically the deep end of dog training. And And you're in a part of town in Virginia Beach where there's a lot of military, so you're probably getting a ton of shepherds, a ton of working dogs.
Oh yeah,
And
a
you
lot of
have
pits too.
a lot of pits, and you got to rehabilitate these dogs from aggression, poor upbringings, not a ton of proper socialization or rules or boundaries.
Yep.
All right, cool, got it. Now what happens?
Then I quit that job because I was like, there has to be more. Like I am failing dogs. Like this is not a joke to me. Like these dogs aren't going home the way I want them to. I am failing, and I cannot grow if I'm in this environment. There's zero way I can grow like this. So I quit and I started my own business, Bare Knuckle Dog Training. And I was just trying to seek out as much knowledge as possible. So I ended up going to a fairly popular school that focuses on the electric collar and the use of the electric collar. And that was like my delve into like negative reinforcement as people understood it. Came back from that school, very disappointed, sorely disappointed, because I gained pretty much nothing but a hoodie and a hat. I did not get what I wanted from that. So I then decided, all right, that again, there has to be more. Now, a little more background on me is like I worked fairly closely when I was younger. When I was in high school, still, I worked fairly closely with children with developmental disorders, like learning disabilities. And one of the biggest things with that was that as fucked up as it sounds, there's a lot of crossover, right? And my sister has autism, and my uncle has autism, and so I'm pretty well versed in dealing with stuff like that. So I had some research stuff that I had previously from working with like my sister and stuff when she was younger, because she had a temper, like she was hitting kids with guitars and shit. Like one kid stole her Barbie at nap time. She picked up a guitar and smashed it over her fucking head, because she was like, she just did not care. It was like there was a boundary that person stepped over, and she did not give a fuck. We're gonna do this, right? And she has a temper on her. Used to have a really bad temper on her. So I pulled out some research that I had for that.
How did you make the connection? So, I mean, you guys might, if you're watching the YouTube, I've heard someone say, you know, when someone says something and it triggers something in your brain and you're like, your brain's going nuts trying to figure out where have you heard that before?
Yeah.
I've heard the correlation between behavior mod and like children with disabilities learning.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that. And it's recent. I can't. How did you make that connection? Because it's not an obvious connection anybody would make.
I think it was pretty obvious. I don't know. I feel like it was a pretty obvious connection. Like you get dogs in and they're really socially, they're having a lot of issues. There's small things that trigger them in their environment to melt down. It's like, I don't know, to me it felt like there's if we're learning more about behavior science, if I want to learn more, because that's really what we're learning about here. We're not talking about just dogs in general. And I feel like trainers that like try training and try doing like BMOD, they limit themselves to researching specifically dog stuff. And it's like I don't really know what kicked it off, but I was looking through some of the stuff that I had for Lily, and it seemed like an obvious connection to make. We have a dog with a temper, you know, and dogs, like developmentally, you look at like what problem solving capabilities they have, and they're around like 4. They're around like 3-4-year-olds, you know? And so if we have like these problem solving capabilities of like 3 or 4-year-olds, it's fairly easy for me to make this like connection in my mind to go like, okay, well, what was I doing with Liliana when she was 3 or 4 and losing her mind? You know what I mean? And so going through all that stuff, it kind of led me down a rabbit hole of, again, behavior science and how we were using things like aversives with children with developmental learning disorders, and going down that rabbit hole. And I went down that I probably went down that rabbit hole for like 6 months straight, reading research paper after research paper after research paper, like highlighting shit.
Could you share how you would use, or how aversives are used with kids with developmental issues?
Well, it depends. Nowadays, we don't really look at it anymore. right? We don't really
Sure.
look at that stuff anymore because we don't do it with dogs either. Nowadays, the research isn't looking into aversives anymore. After like the positive reinforcement boom, and that's a thing in behavior science, period. Whether it's like dog training or not, like there was a huge positive reinforcement boom in behavior science in like the 70s and 80s, and it really just pushed everybody towards like positive reinforcement and the uses of it, which love it, wonderful as that was. I think it was a mistake because we stopped doing research into aversives and how aversives can be used. So like really it's like from 64 onward to like 77 and maybe even into like 86, that's where like you'll have most of the research on aversives. And then they kind of stopped using it, right? Part of that too is ethical problems, right? Like you can't really be doing certain things to kids, you know what I mean? Like they're children, they're humans, there's certain things that weren't acceptable. And I totally am behind that, I totally get that. But I think there was some wonderful things in there, like the use of overcorrection. So let's say a kid was losing his temper, knocked down a tower of blocks. One of the biggest things they would do to create an aversive experience around it is not only would they make him reset the blocks, but they would make him make it prettier. They would make him make it better, right? So you not only had to fix your mistake, but you had to overcorrect the mistake.
And
right?
they consider that was considered an aversive.
Yeah. Yeah, overcorrection is a subsection of punishment. And that's like, again, when I talk about like the quadrants and I talk to people about like the use of aversives, like we are always talking about leash pressure. Like even when you introduced it, it's like we're talking about leash pressure. We're always talking about like physical aversives that are being used to the dog. But like, again, negative punishment is punishment. It's still a section of punishment, and overcorrection, kind of a subsection of punishment, can be used really, really well. I use it on a daily basis. So like, let's say I have a dog, I put him in a sit stay. I leave the dog breaks position. I don't just put him back where he was. I put him 2 feet behind where he was. And then we do it again, right? And that is a huge, that to the dog, to some dogs, not all dogs, to some dogs, that's a big deal. That's like, oh, dude, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I won't do that again. I'll fix it. Right? Like some dogs do not like that. And I'm not talking even leading them away on a prong. I'm talking like you literally can just walk into the dog a couple steps. He backs up a couple steps, put him in a sit again, walk away. And the dog's like, this was an aversive experience. I didn't enjoy that.
What came to my mind, what's cool about this podcast, the reason I started is sometimes we as trainers, we like simplify everything to quadrants and it becomes so mundane and a little silly.
Yes.
But like the best thing probably would be to do is like if a young trainer could like shadow like 100 different trainers, you know, and see the nuance. So something I have in my yard is like kind of a very basic obstacle course, like small challenges.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
shout out to Tony Dennis.
Thank you. Thank you. You're on the Doggy Stoic Hall of Fame for life because of that comment. An aversive experience is making the dog redo an obstacle, especially if it's that you know that the dog is capable of doing it and it's not focusing on the obstacle and it's falling off intentionally. You know how they do this?
Yeah.
Making them redo it. And I always say that, like to my clients, remember like when you'd rush through your classwork and the teacher would say either show your work or do this again, right? And maybe do this again plus 5 problems.
Mm-hmm.
That is so aversive. And we don't even think about that. But making a dog redo it and, like you said, overcorrecting, build that tower of blocks, but even better, even more precisely, is such a cool learning mechanism that's really hard to explain in quadrants, but it's really easy when you see it.
Yeah, I would say it's impossible to explain with just quadrant talk, because now we're getting into emotions, we're getting into feelings, we're getting into, and these are the things that like I spend my time like working with. Like I don't, whenever I talk to people, like I did a couple evals today right before the podcast. One was for a fairly aggressive, like human aggressive and dog aggressive micro bully. As much as I dislike the breed, that's, you know, it's a pretty cool dog. And then the other one was just like it's a Frenchie that likes to pull on leash, right? And I was telling the guy, like, when I do work, I'm working with emotions. I work within emotion. I don't work absent of emotion. I don't work in a quadrant laboratory. I work with a dog and how they feel. My whole job is fixing how dogs feel, right? And when I found that out, when I focused on that, it was the sky was the fucking limit, but it's hard to master and figure that out. And like, it's really hard to get across to like a new trainer if they haven't seen it in person, if they're not looking at it in person, if they don't see a dog go from like a man eater to fucking greeting strangers at the van store, they have no idea what we're talking about.
I don't want to make this a therapy session, but I have this theory that I don't want to say the best trainers, but like trainers that are super successful with rehabbing behavior mod are trainers that also remember how they used to feel not so good. How they felt maybe not accepted in school. Like, for example, I struggled in school, not because I didn't want to learn, but it was really hard for me to sit for 8 hours. I loved athletics, and I just have a racing mind.
Yeah.
So a lot of my getting in trouble was just out of that. And then they would put me in ISS, which was in-school suspension.
Yep, I'm familiar with it.
Which is sickening, right? It's sick. It's a sickening punishment. You just sit there. You can't talk to anybody. There's like
it's like being shoved in a kennel.
Yeah. But you didn't. But what did you do? Like, you just kind of wanted to socialize.
I was a particularly violent kid, so like I can't say that.
Were you a bully? You were an XL bully?
I was a working Mal for sure. Like, I was a particularly violent kid, and it, again, goes to home life and things like that.
Sure.
But I think one of the things that helps me a lot with like aggression cases is I can empathize with how the dog feels. And that's anthropomorphizing the dog a little bit for sure. Okay. But I think you kind of have to, I think it's okay. Sure. I think it's fine. I think you should a little bit. I think you should, right? Because if we're going to talk emotions and stuff, again, like if a dog can feel embarrassment, like let's say, for example, if you have a particularly fiery rooster that is trying to attack you every time you go into the coop, something you do is you pick the fucking rooster up in front of everybody and parade it around for a second. And it gets embarrassed. It gets like fucking, whoa, I am powerless right now. I am embarrassed and my social status has gone down. They understand that. And then you put the rooster down and very rarely will you have issues with it again. Right? And if I can do that with a dog, if I can pick a dog up and put him in air jail and he feel like a type of way about it, and then I can put him down, I think if a dog can feel embarrassment, they can feel pride. And if a dog can feel pride, then they can feel almost any human emotion, because that's one of the strongest human emotions. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I think that there's very few emotions that are off limits for between dogs and people.
Is there a belief that dogs don't feel emotions amongst other trainers?
I don't know. I think that, like, obviously, like, there's that group of people from this particular e-collar school that think that dogs are like operant creatures only and opportunistic. And so that like every second of their day, they're just thinking about how they can get one over on you to better their whatever. And I can't look at dogs that way. I just can't.
It's not true.
I don't think so at all.
Well, forget what we think. They show you that that's not true. Like, their behavior.
No, like my dogs love me, and it's not because I fucking feed them. Like my dogs love me. And that's one of the things that like I think some people. That's a balance thing that's coming around though. It's like that was the thing for a while. Is like people were thinking like, oh, dogs are strictly opportunistic predators and they can only do X, Y, or Z, and they don't actually love you. They just love that you supply them with the things they need to survive. Blah blah blah, that kind of shit.
But if we domesticated them, right, and like we kind of have lived with them, isn't this like I'm showing like it's hard to explain, but like isn't this what domestication is? Where like there's a symbiotic relationship. That yes, there's like these physical needs, but there's also the emotional needs. Like we get the dogs for basically to fill a void in our lives. And like, if we look, why are dog adoptions through the roof? Why is dog trainers through the roof? Dog owners? Is COVID made us feel lonely?
Oh yeah.
Cut it however you want it, but you get a dog to fill the loneliness gap that you missed from maybe being 10, 15, 20 years ago when you go outside and have all these friends, and now we're just at home with our phones. Now I got a best friend again.
Yeah. Well, like one of the things that I always point to my clients, and I tell them this all the time, is like dogs don't naturally, they're not naturally supposed to have whites of their eyes. The reason they develop the whites in their eyes is so they can better communicate with us, people who have whites in our eyes. Like it's called the sclera, and it's the part of their eye that they use to whale eye to communicate to us better. Like it is there strictly to establish a better emotional connection to people, right? And I think that if the dog's whole fucking biology changed so they can better express themselves to us, then certainly that means that there is a deeper bond than just you give me food, I do X for you.
Awesome. So you were, okay, B-Mod, failing the dogs, go to an e-collar school. You're like, this is weird. And you're like, okay, there's this parallel between autism and dogs. I'm hungry. I'm learning. I'll never stop learning. I want to be the best trainer I can. I love these dogs. I want to give back to these dogs. I want them to be their best selves.
Yep.
Remember, this is all in like 5 years, man. Your development is super fast. When did you develop the system that you're currently in?
Probably like 2 years ago. 2 years. Probably 2 years ago is when I like actually had it squared away. And again, dude, I could show you like, I mean, I probably can't show you right now, but I have this I had this part of my room. It looked like a schizophrenic's like area, dude. It was like all these papers pasted up, highlights, like it was crazy. And I kind of developed my system based around that stuff, based around personal experiences, my personal emotions that I felt when I was exhibiting similar behaviors to a lot of these kids or a lot of these dogs. And then some of the things that I obviously learned from basic dog training, and then a lot of the things that I learned through like the research I was doing. And then around that time too, you know, you get like, there was around like 2 years ago, that's when TWC really was popping off. And I bought Ivan's like possession games and chase and catch, which by the way, as much as I love Ivan's chase and catch and possession games, Michael Ellis also made play videos that are cheaper and are basically the same shit. Like they tangibly pretty much the same. So as much as I love them, you can save your money a little bit, and you can how to tug with your dog from Michael Ellis, and how to use a ball on string, Michael Ellis. That'll tell you pretty much everything you need to know for that. If you're a trainer who's itching to learn, right? So, you know, I kind of added a lot more of that like play style stuff, because again, you're coming from that. I was coming at fresh off of as many reps as possible of each behavior gets you what you're looking for. And then I realized, like, as I was going about that, like, I didn't teach Liliana how to fucking use the toilet by doing repetitions of the toilet. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a funny way.
My dad didn't teach me how to pee in a toilet using repetitions of peeing in a toilet. He put fucking Cheerios in it and said, pee on those. You know what I mean? Like, it was fun. It was a game.
Yeah, I made a game of it. That's
yeah. Fun. So you never teach anything else that way. And
the reinforcement is the crackling sound. So like Rice Krispies would be great for this.
Yeah. It's like, dude, there's literally no other aspect in life that we just go reps on reps on reps on reps is the only way to do this. When a personal trainer gets a hold of you, they don't do repetitions. When a personal trainer gets a hold of you, they make it fun. They should be making working out a good time.
Yeah.
They should be making, like when I was a kid and I was in boxing, it wasn't just do thousands of repetitions of this. It was, let's get in the ring, let's spar a little bit, let's play around. And then you'll start to
for
get
the
better.
Average person. We're not talking about the high performer that's like trying to get from 99% to 99.9%. That's where you do those little reps.
Right.
For the average pet dog, everyday human, if boxing isn't fun, you're not going to come back.
You're not going to do it ever again. You're never going to want to do it again. And that's what every single trainer, I'm sure, battles with. That, like, client who doesn't do their homework, because their homework is go into your fucking driveway and do 40 repetitions of sit. And that's boring. Nobody wants to do that.
The human or the dog.
No, nobody wants to do that. Nobody, right? And so, get in, do that. And I kind of work that into the system. And I wouldn't even call what I do a system. It's more of just like an overarching couple things I try and touch on and then teach obedience, right? But there's like key concepts we need to teach like every dog for them to be successful.
So I want to ask you did 2 evaluations today.
Yeah.
Evaluation is actually something I've changed more than anything, because I used to go way too much into evaluations, and that was such a junior mistake. Like trying to teach the client during the evaluation. Don't do that, Andrew. That's silly. How do you run your evaluations? And then I want to talk about Lion King, because that's just a great name. That's an awesome name.
Wonderful name. So I usually do what I do for evaluations. I usually just kind of have the dogs. I just observe. It's just an observation. I crack jokes with the owner. We talk for a while and we observe the dog. What's the dog doing? What's the problem behavior you called me for? Let's see him do it. Let's see what he's doing here. And then let's see if there's an opening to fix this. That's the biggest thing. It's like, what are we doing? What's the problem? Let's watch the problem. Let's let him exhibit the issue. And let's see if in that there's an opening for us to fix the problem.
Right there on the spot.
No, I don't usually fix it. I just look for the opening.
Okay.
Because you can't do that. You can't do that. There are some dogs that are really fucking dangerous and you do need to stop them right now. Because if they go any further, it's going to be someone dies. Like someone's gonna like get really, really fucking hurt and might die. Like there are some dogs like that for sure. Majority of dogs, even dogs in like showing aggression cases and whatnot, you just need to figure out what's going on, why, and where the opening is to fix it. And then you that's my path. Now I know where I'm gonna take this program when I get it. Until then, we have some shit we need to do.
Was either the XL Bully or the Frenchie today anything like that's like resonated that you want to share?
Yeah, I guess like one of the things that I saw today and it's a micro bully. One of the things I saw today, her name's Gigi. This was a super interesting thing. And if you're not into protection sports, you probably would never try it. But like she was barking at me actively, like barking at me. And when I just kind of stood there and didn't entertain it, she kind of stopped and was like, what's going on here? Like, what the fuck? But I took a step backwards. Almost every time I gave ground to the dog, she pursued. Pretty hard, too, like would pursue it. And if I flinched, she would feel empowered and feel really good about it. And a lot of people would be like, what? The dog feels empowered by, like, you flinching or whatever? But if you're not in protection sports, you don't understand. Right? Like you probably don't understand. And I think too, like if there are trainers that are listening to this and they want to get into aggression, man, like not only should you learn how to stop, but you need to learn how to allow, right? You can't have a dog that you can't eliminate aggression from a dog. That's impossible. Aggression is a byproduct of emotions. It's an action that's driven by emotions, and you can't get rid of dogs' emotions. They're going to feel it. Right. So there has to be a place for them to do that, a place for them to feel that. They have to, or else you're just creating a ticking time bomb that's going to explode and hurt somebody. Right. One of the biggest things that I look for is, does the dog abandon the behavior on its own? Or like Lion King, for example, this is a good segue into it, did not abandon the behavior on his own at all without me doing anything, with me just gloves on, sitting down in my living room. That dog attacked me for 15 minutes straight. I had to stop it. He attacked me over and over and over and over and over again until I grabbed him by the collar and put him in his kennel. Like he did not stop. Right. And so like there are some dogs where you give them that moment of like, I'm not going to go anywhere if you bite me. And they go harder. And there are some dogs that stop. Gigi kind of stopped. She's like, what the fuck? I don't think I like this. And then I gave into it a little by backing up, by allowing her to feel big, like she took space, and then she pursued harder, right? But if I didn't give into it, she didn't try harder. She kind of backed off and was like, I don't think I understand what's happening here.
What does that tell you about their psyche?
It tells you what kind of character the dog has, right? So I call dogs with strong character, or I usually say sufficient character. Dogs that exhibit sufficient character are dogs that under stress and when everything is telling them otherwise, pursue the behavior that is getting them nothing, right? Like aggression, for example. When pressed and shown that this behavior will give you nothing, you have dogs that will back off and say, okay, I don't think I want to go down this road because it's just this guy's not going anywhere.
Which is
Right.
the micro bully in this scenario.
Yeah, it's making me uncomfortable. This guy's just kind of staring at me and like he's laughing at me while I'm doing this. I don't think I like that. Like he's not going anywhere. And so she's like processing that and not going any harder. Then you have dogs like Lion King, who in spite of everything you're telling them, I will go nowhere. I am not stop like no matter how hard you go, this isn't gonna I'm not disappearing. Those dogs will pursue. Those dogs will continue.
That's the degen on the corner, the crackhead who's lost everything and still doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little addictive too, but it's also like it shows me too. It's not just that. It's the people that we have UFC fighting. It's the people that we have boxing professionally. It's the people that we have who violence is their job, right? Those people are comfortable with violence. Those people are comfortable with where that's at, with taking it that far. And no matter what is said to them, that is the default behavior. This is what makes like a nice Doberman or a nice Rottweiler when kicked in the defense. They are that way. They're nice because they, no matter what happens, I will die fighting right now, right? And that's sufficient character. That is what I think makes sufficient character, and that's what you're looking for.
In that sense, then, for like a rehabilitation behavior mod program, Lion King is even easier because you're like, this guy just needs an outlet.
A little bit, sure. But you also gotta watch because these dogs with sufficient character, they're looking to assert themselves. They're looking to say like, no, I will make you, right? That's one of the big things about a dog that's going to keep going versus a dog that stops is a dog that continues going in spite of everything telling him that it's a not great idea. It is difficult to get across to that dog that behavior is not necessary. It's hard to get that dog to abandon the behavior. An easy dog is a dog that abandons it on their own. So like I know for a fact that Gigi's going to be a fairly easy program. She stopped by herself on her own. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to say anything to her. I didn't have to use a leash. She was on a flexi and she was attacking me and I didn't say a word and she stopped. And it was like, okay, cool. There's my in. Like, I know exactly what we can do to help socialize you, right? That's a lot easier than a dog who, in spite of everything telling him otherwise, will continue down the path they're going, right? That's where really I think the difference between a lot of people's like aggression cases and Lion King specifically is in the character of the dog. It's not just a dog that decided he wanted to bite people. It's a dog that, in spite of everything telling him otherwise, wanted to continue biting.
One of the things that I've gotten better at is letting the dog, and this goes to what you said, play out to see the character, to play out their behavior.
Yeah.
I remember watching one of Dylan day-to-day dog training's videos.
Yep.
And one of the videos got like a lot of backlash because similar to Lion King, he was just letting that border collie Aussie just go at him for like a while.
I've not seen the video.
And like people, there's one side was like he's reinforcing the behavior. So he's practicing the behavior. You should punish it right now. Like it needs to be suppressed.
Well, practicing and reinforcing are two different things.
I'm leading you. These are really hard topics to talk about. They're easier to see. So walk me through practicing and reinforcing, and then how you thought about constructing Lion King's program to help him through this and to stop that behavior.
Right. So practicing a behavior doesn't necessarily mean that it's reinforcing. I can have you do repetitions of something and it be punishing. Right? Like you can do repetitions of stuff and that itself be punishing. You can do repetitions of something. You can practice something and it not feel good and it not be good. So like, let's say you have a dog that largely has started his socializing journey has felt what it's like to feel like to be social, to not have that happen, to not be an aggressor. He's felt what it's like to be pet on by a new person and enjoy that time, and or play fetch with somebody, or he has felt what it's like to not do. Him doing that right there is a moment where he can choose. Like, there are two options here, and him practicing that behavior does not necessarily mean that right there he is like, this is the best thing ever, I am having a blast. Him doing that could be him like reprocessing what he's supposed to be doing. Like, that's literally his time to sit there and think through that social scenario.
Would you pause there and let him do that and again look for that gap that you have with Gigi? Maybe now Lion King goes and attacks, and then you see the pause that he didn't have in the beginning?
It depends, right? It depends on the dog, depends on what's going on. There's a lot of these where it's like, would you have done this or would you do that? Like, when you bring up that case that Dylan has, like, I have no idea what I would do. I'd never had the dog.
Sure.
Like, I haven't even seen the dog, so it's like, I have no idea what I would do. But for me, when I was looking at Lion King's program and I was doing stuff with Lion King, after we had met a couple people and it was like, okay, hey dude, like, there's a better way to do this, and he's opting for the behavior. For him in particular, I did punish him. I did decide to say, like, okay, you are not going to do that anymore. We're done with this. Because I knew that if I allowed him to continue exhibiting it, it would have just sent him in a downward spiral where he would have attacked this person for however long until we stopped it. And I knew.
So, okay. So you had him, how long did you have him for?
I had him for five weeks.
Which is, for people listening, like, most boarding trains are like 2 to 4, but like behavior mod, like, sometimes I'm sure you wish you would have had him for 8 weeks in many cases. Like, it does.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he had issues. He had some issues that, like, I sent him home with some management stuff. He had some issues that, like, we did not have time to touch, and we probably would not have had, like, even in a 10-week, I probably wouldn't have had not had
like,
time.
What comes to mind?
Feeding. He had some really bad food insecurities. So, like, one of the things was, like, he would, before program, they would give him his food. He would opt out of eating it in favor of sitting there staring at the bowl. And if somebody passed by within like 10 feet of him, he would turn around and attack them. And the same thing with, like, dogs.
Dude, what kind of dog is this? What's this guy's story?
He's rescue dog, always been a rescue dog. Has been rotated through a couple of rescues previous to getting with this, his current owner. And he's always been this way. He's just always been a lunatic. I have no idea where he came from beforehand. It's like 3 rescues before he ended up at this one where she ended up getting a hold of him.
And it's like a Dachshund Chihuahua mix?
He's a Beagle Chihuahua mix.
What a strong character.
Oh yeah.
He loves to fight.
Dude, if he was a Malinois, I'd take him in a heartbeat. I would be keeping that dog. If he was a Malinois, I would be keeping that dog. Like, that's the exact kind of dog that I would usually purchase.
Like, if we like anthropomorphize, this is like someone with just insane adrenaline, insane amount of wanting to fight, and just lived such a boring life. So he created scenarios out of nowhere to fight.
I empathize with him. Again, I told you I was a particularly violent kid. I empathize with him. Like, I literally verbatim me at fucking 8 through 10.
8 through 10 years old, or 8 through 10th grade?
8 through 10 years old.
What, like someone like took your Legos and you're like, oh, it's on?
Yeah, pretty much. I got in a lot of fights. I got like my first concussion at like 6.
Are you a big kid?
No.
Like what? Like
no,
5?
I'm like 5'8". As a kid, I didn't eat a lot. Like, we weren't, like, again, bad upbringing. My dad, wonderful, but he was always overseas. So my mom, not a great person. I didn't eat a whole lot. So I was a particularly small child and a frail child. But I was, for some reason, I know why, but for reasons that we don't need to get into on the podcast, I was a particularly violent kid. And I empathize with Lion King super hard. Like, creating scenarios to fight was literally shit that I would do all the time.
Are you happy that you started dog training 5 years ago? And that you got your white shepherd?
It's the only thing I would be doing. There's not a single thing I would be doing outside of it.
Did it bring you a lot
I don't think there's a world. I don't think if we could peer through the veil into the multiverse, I don't think there's a universe in which I'm not dog training.
But you weren't 6 years ago.
No, I wasn't, but I definitely think I would have hit the same path for sure. I was a mechanic before this. I actually have a degree in diesel technology.
Does your wife say that she could see how you've changed as a result of this? For the better?
Yeah, I think so. I think she would say for sure I am a significantly better person. I also too, like, I have a really bad problem with like authority. So like one of the things that like I had trouble with before dog training was if my boss at any point while I was mechanic, if my boss told me, hey, I need you to do this thing, and I just didn't like his tone, I quit that day. And I would just find a different job. I had a really bad problem, like horrible problem with authority. And so like dog training is probably the one place where not only do I get to make up whatever I want as far as like my schedule, as far as like what I want to do, I can take on cases that I feel are really cool. I can do stuff that I really like. But I the only person I answer to is the dog.
The reason I love negative reinforcement. So I grew up, I'm an immigrant from Ukraine, USSR, and grew up like in an athlete family.
Yep.
Where I guess like your self-worth is how good you are at the sport. So my uncle played, my grandpa played, my dad played, and the way they motivate is through pressure.
Yeah.
But pressure has degrees. Like if you think about your stove, right? Like 100, I'm going to redirect and maybe I'll punt the ball away or I'll punt it at you or we'll yell at each other. But a degree 25 might be perfect for that day, but degree 26 might not.
Yep.
Right. So I think negative reinforcement, especially for men who are like to fight, it teaches you subtlety, softness, where, hey, Lion King, I'm going to add pressure, but I'm not going to overpower you because I have so much more strength than you. So that like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, like if you, and the thing is like dogs like him, and as it's funny to say because he's like literally a chihuahua, like he is tiny. You know, so like it's funny to say that it's funny to say what I'm about to say, but like dogs like Lion King, it doesn't matter how much more physically imposing you are, or how much fucking discomfort you can give him, or what, like it matters zero because he doesn't care. He's gonna keep going no matter what. And I think that's why I like dogs like that. I really like dogs like that. I like dogs that don't view size, that don't view stature, that just say like, I am who I am and I will be this way, right? And I respect that a ton out of the dog. And so like one of the things I did a lot with him was like negative reinforcement was a big learning tool for him, like physical manipulation, like grabbing him and doing stuff with him, right? That was like my primary teacher for him on his sit, his down. I mean, like you guys go on the Instagram, you guys can watch me teach him down, and I'm pushing his shoulder blades down, right? Those is intro to down, not lower position. It's push shoulder blades down, release dog. We mess around with, I think I was using treats initially. I was throwing treats for him, right?
Playing with food.
We were doing some food play, right? And so I like, especially with aggression cases like that, it is a matter of not just explaining to them that like you have to, but the way you explain that you have to, the way I show you have to matters a ton. Like I have a dog right now. She's she's like reactivity case, very mild reactivity, nothing like almost nothing at all. Like I wouldn't even consider it reactivity, right? And she's like force-free training previously, like completely force-free trained. So like everything's a treat dispenser. You reach in your pocket, dude, and she spins around. She can hear your pocket move, and she spins around. It's like, where's my fucking treat? So no treats. Her program is specifically going to be like play, and negative reinforcement exclusively. Like, I'm going to forbid her owner from using treats with her because it's stunted. It's not only stunted her socially, it's stunted her like developmentally. She can't view a world where things don't spit food out at her, right? And that's just like, I can't think of a thing to me that's more sad.
I'm sure that community means well, but I think if they saw the full progression of these dogs' lives, they would, and they were candid with themselves, they would have to admit that teaching dogs that every basic thing, like just a sit or a down and you hold it, like we're not even asking too much, like you need some immediate reward from it, and not the reward of just like, hey, we're hanging out as friends. That's the reward. It's so weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it also comes around. You've seen in the balance community too, right? Like, you'll see people talking about their paycheck, giving their dog their paycheck, paying the dog. Like, you hear it. I hear it all the time when I'm doing working dog stuff. Pay that dog, right? And I can't view anything that way. I literally can't. It's impossible.
In what scenarios do they say pay the dog?
So you'll be like heeling down the road, like you'll disengage off a decoy, pop in the heel, start walking, and they're like, pay the dog, boom. Or he does a sit really well, pay the dog, and you give him the ball or you give him whatever, right? And it's supposed to be like reward your dog. And whether you're using food or a ball, it's rewarding the dog for whatever good behavior they're exhibiting.
But then they'll say, look how much my dog loves to heel. So if they love to heel, they shouldn't need a reward.
So
the reward should be the heel.
Yeah. So I do not give my dog like Sirius. He's sleeping in the back there. I do not give Sirius a physical reward, like a ball, food, anything. I do not give him a reward for his stays. So he doesn't get to, you don't get a pop out of position, get a ball, pop out of position, get whatever. You don't get that. I call you to heel and we heel away, or I call him to front and we front, and he loves to do that. I mean, he would heel with me if I had nothing. That dog will heel with me. He loves it.
What you did was like stays kind of boring for a Malinois, so the reward is coming to do an activity with you.
Stay is not boring for him. That dog cannot stay. Like, worth assault. I have to make it boring. So, like, for him, movement intrinsically is, and this is where we get into a really cool conversation about like predators and how predators operate, and like we get into a little bit of evolutionary biology, but like movement for him is intrinsically rewarding. It's incredibly rewarding for him, and it's not because of reward history, although that does play a big factor in it. That dog is like a shark. If he stops moving, it's aversive. Like, making him stay is pretty avert. Like, if I'm upset with him, I make him stay. If he's done something wrong, I make him stay because he does not want to at all. He hates stay. And I can't, there is no amount, like, and again, this comes down to like dogs with sufficient character in my mind. If there's a dog out there that you could do pretty much anything you want to him physically, like harm him in any way, and it wouldn't matter to him. He could get hit by a car and he would probably still try and run around, right? He would break a leg and he'd still try and get his ball. He really could not give a crap about physical discomfort. So I don't manipulate my dog with that. I don't use that as my primary method of like punishing him. If I want to punish him, I make him sit there and look at the decoy.
And does he whine and stays? And
oh yeah.
And what
I don't think you've probably, if you've looked at my Instagram, you've probably never seen a dog that's as vocal as Sirius.
And you just let it go?
Yeah, I don't care. Because like one of the big things, right? We have to understand. Some dogs do not have a conscious control over some actions. There is just some dogs that will just do something unconsciously, right? And I think a good trainer will know when something is unconsciously done and when something is consciously done. And you can bring unconscious behaviors to the forefront of the dog's mind if you're really, really worried about it. But realistically, when I'm working with my dog and I'm doing competition shit with my dog, I don't care if he's a little vocal because I want him to choose me over decoy Any day of the week, I want him to choose sitting over decoy. Any day of the week, I want him to, in spite of heavy competing motivators, choose me any day of the week. And if that means I let him be a little, I don't care. That bothers me zero. Now, if like I was doing Mondio ring or French ring, I'd have to lower the state of arousal significantly. But in my sport, PSA, arousal is super fucking helpful. Like the most helpful thing I can have within my training.
Educate me, because I want to ask you about Stoney. Don't let me get off this interview before Stoney, because that was my first. That's how my whole program started. But French ring, PSA, IGP. Why did you get into it? The benefit for pet dog trainers, and maybe some slight differences.
Yeah, so French ring, Mondio ring, they're pretty similar, minus a couple of like key differences, right? French ring, Mondio ring. I'm sure there are some Mondio ring like professionals, French ring professionals will be like, no, they're not similar at all. One of my mentors, really nice guy, Paul Edwards. Shout out Paul, the GOAT. Paul Edwards, Mondio ring champion, like super awesome dude. Just competed at Worlds. He just finished out first in his last trial. Wonderful guy. Mondio has a lot of like environmental distractions, right? That's like the whole name of the game for Mondio, is that you never know what you're going to get on the field when you hop on the field. Like you never know what's going to happen. Usually there's a theme. French ring's a little more structured. Either way, both those have a very similar way of catching the dog and pressuring the dog. Usually it's done with a clatter stick and a lot of esquives. So getting out of the way of the bite, right? And fighting the dog to the bite. But then when they get on the bite, it's kind of like tap the dog on the sides with the clatter. It's not really hard like stick hits or anything like that. PSA it stands for Protection Sports Association. This is sport I compete in and play around in. I wouldn't even say I'm like a super serious competitor, because most of my shit's B-mod. I don't really do sport super seriously, although I want to pivot to that later. Right now, my bread and butter is behavior modification. So the sport I play around in is PSA. As far as PSA goes, it's a lot shorter routines. The obedience routines are super short. They're not super long. Heavy emphasis on decoy neutrality. Heavy emphasis on good obedience in spite of heavy pressure from decoys, right? And then the pressure that's applied in PSA is almost unmatched to any other dog sport. The pressure on the dog is ridiculous, right? And so you have to have a dog, again, with sufficient character in order to do it, because there's a scenario in the 2s and 3s called the Room of Doom, where there are three decoys in there. All of them have shit like chainsaws, weed whackers. They have like,
Turned on?
They take the chains and stuff off, so it's just the noise of the thing. But yeah, they'll have like weed whackers, chainsaws, mechanicals. They'll have leaf blowers. One of them has a bucket of water that they'll dump on the dog's face as soon as it rounds the corner, and you have to send your dog in there, and it's going to choose a decoy to bite. And then after that, the dog has to out nicely. The dog has to then transport, or then has to come out of the Room of Doom in a very controlled, very good manner. There is no rebiting allowed. There is like the dog has to think through heavy pressure. And one of my favorite things about it is that you get to see what the dog is made of. You get to see what, like, if this dog is like, when we talk about protection sports, right? This is a protection sport. This is like PSA is, I think, one of the few sports that really puts it on a dog in the way that weeds out weak character. Like IGP doesn't even have stick hits anymore. I don't even consider that. I am IGP's biggest hater. I don't even consider that a protection sport anymore. And I'm sure people are going to hate me for that. But without being able to test a dog's character, there is no protection.
And that's physical and emotional character, so sort of simultaneously, and being able to go between those two, right? That's like the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, like you got to have, they'll do unsuited muzzle fights. So the dog has to be fairly civil, right? Like the dog has to be civil. You can't do that. You can't sport that up. You can't have a dog that doesn't want to bite a person for real do an unsuited muzzle fight. It won't happen.
Explain
you know what I mean? Guy, no equipment on, no sleeve, no bite suit, no nothing. You put a muzzle on the dog, you send him to go bite, and that guy's going to fight your dog.
Cool.
You know?
But some dogs can bite through a muzzle, right?
We usually, the agitation muzzles we have are pretty like you're not biting through that.
Dude, does that not mess up their nose? Like just because they go pretty full force, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the the muzzles we use have a like steel brace in them. Not that it's not great. Like I will fully agree that if you do muzzle fights every day constantly, your dog's probably gonna have a problem with his nose, you know.
Right.
But it's not. You don't do it every day like that. That's not really like the point of it. It's to test the dog.
You have a very I'm gonna say compulsive obsessive personality. You're 5 years. You're like, look at how much you've done, man. Have you taken inventory? Like,
No, not at all.
not at all.
I just play around, dude. I live dogs.
I'm gonna go harder. I'm gonna get another dog. I'm gonna compete against.
Yeah. I have two Malinois. My Malinois that bit me in the butt, Mushu, when I first got him. Like, well, what made me get him was that his name's Mushu. I got him from a I won't say her name, but I got him from an Instagram influencer that went to jail for the time, and I bought him then. And then my other dog, Sirius, he's cool because he was originally, I missed out on his litter. I did not get to get him. And then he went to a different home. That person put them 8 weeks old, put him down in their backyard with their Yorkie. And when the Yorkie tried to mount him, he ripped its ear off.
At 8 weeks old.
At 8 weeks old. And so I got a call from the breeder. She was like, hey, I think I got a puppy for you because I missed out originally on this litter. And I was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, send him over. I popped him out of the kennel off the plane. He came out, nailed me in the leg. I was like, oh, you're wonderful. Within like 20 minutes, I had like a poke here, and here from when he bit me in the face.
People love these mouths. Have you had a behavior mod case with low drive?
Yeah, that's fairly common actually.
How do you process those? Because I feel like those would be the most challenging. Like, I don't have a lot of ambition, motivation.
Yeah.
And I randomly attack. Like, how do you solve that?
Well, so a big deal here is like, we talk about emotion, we talk about what the dog's feeling, and like, how is a dog supposed to feel drivey if he's miserable? If he's miserable, if every day of his life is the worst thing ever, how the fuck is he supposed to feel like he wants to chase a ball? How is he supposed to feel like he wants to play tug? He can't. You have to solve that first, right? And so a lot of people where I see them going like, and again, this is talking, let me make this clear. I do not view myself as the end-all professional on this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I think there are significantly better trainers than myself. And I'm blessed that you asked me to come onto the podcast. But I think that where I see a majority of people failing is that they don't consider that at all. They don't even think about what that dog might be feeling or thinking on a daily basis. And so this dog is miserable, and they're trying to get him to do sit stays. This dog is miserable, and they're trying to get him to heel around. And like, he hates his life. Of course he's going to keep biting. You have to get these dogs to feel good first. You have to get these dogs to feel adequate. Sorry, I got to give my dog a pretzel real quick. Here.
Go ahead. So the way that I do it, and I don't understand why Stoney doesn't get more mainstream love. And you know, something
I love Stoney Dennis, dude. Stoney's the GOAT.
Is he not?
Dude, I like literally like I have a couple of people that I truly actually like. You can come to my house anytime you want. Paul Edwards is one of them. And Stoney Dennis is another, for sure. I love those dudes. They're awesome.
You've mentioned this certification program earlier, but across the board, they don't respect him very much, and either do some other trainers. And I was like, dude, Stoney puts out 50-minute videos of dogs playing in the back, and he... like where everyone else is just face the camera talking, he shows his work. He talks through it. He has 5 decades of experience.
Yeah. And
I've done much of what he's talked about, and it's been successful. It is successful.
No, Stoney is super successful. He's a GOAT. I really, truly, like, if people don't know who Stoney Dennis is, like, go. Go look at Uncle Stoney's stuff. Like he's awesome. Like
And I never felt like he's judged other trainers. I always felt like he just
the
showed his
opposite.
method. Yeah.
The opposite. He literally invites people to talk like all the time. You know, like he actually, and he converses back with his community. I think that's super sick. Like that's awesome. You know, like Stoney is awesome. And he does understand a lot of this stuff. You know, he understands a lot of this stuff. I think the reason that Stoney probably gets as much hate as he does is because, you know, his like small obstacles course. I don't know if that translates super well over to like genuine confidence building in a dog unless it's as nice as his. You know, I think that like there's a lot of people who don't have a small obstacles course like that has as much novelty as his does, that can genuinely like give a dog, a younger dog, like good amounts of confidence, or a dog that's experiencing a lot of trouble, give them the right amount of confidence, right? And so I think that's a big thing, is like people see a small obstacles course and they just kind of go, yeah, whatever, not a big deal, right?
Kehli,
Like,
how old are you? How old are you?
I'm 25.
25. You say you grew up in the social media era, or you remember life before social media?
I remember life before social media. Again, I didn't have a phone until I was like 14.
I'm 35.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder if the internet has forgotten concepts versus like do it like this. Like
They have.
Yes, you probably don't have an obstacle course like Stoney, but what is he kind of trying to show you with this? And how can you replicate it to the best of your ability?
Yeah. Well, that's why like I don't put out tutorials at all. I don't show anybody tutorials because I think that the world is like you want to look up how to teach your dog fucking sit. There is 10 million videos with that. Every dog trainer has their proven method to teach the sit stay or down stay or whatever, man. And like at the end of the day, I don't think that your average person, obviously, like we have a job, because your average person looks at that and goes, this is insane. Like there's too much here. I can't deal with that. Like that's way too much. There's way too many ideas, and they failed teaching their dog to sit with the treat lure that everyone says to use. And so it becomes like, I think like people look to the internet to solve their problems, and when it doesn't, they can't look. They cannot look any deeper than that.
So Stoney once said, instead of saying, am I the best dog trainer, like whatever that means, he said, put dog trainers in competent and incompetent buckets. So are you competent in what you advertise or tell your clients to do? And I think that's much simpler. But I'll tell you, all of the obedience for pet dog training is really easy if the dog feels some semblance of cooperation with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done 4 hours. It's a new thing I'm doing. Because I used to just have a school where I would they called me the fitness guy, the certification program. So I was like, fuck you guys. I'm not even going to touch these dogs. I'm going to start recording full-length YouTube episodes on training, telling clients how to train a dog. And the first one was at my boxing gym, a Rottweiler who nipped or bit people in the face when she was uncertain.
Yeah.
Today, session 4 hours. All we did was session 1, we played and made the Rottweiler jump on a picnic table. Freaked out. All negative reinforcement. Okay, that was 1. 2, play, and I brought a mentor dog. 3, play with a little bit of impulse control on place. Today, after session 4, her biggest claim or her biggest issue was we can't settle her down when she's outside and we're playing with a ball and she can't be a part of the game. We have to hold her back on the leash.
Yeah.
Today, set 4 hours. The lady puts her on in a downstay, walks away, plays with her niece with a ball, and Akila's holding a downstay when their landscaper is landscaping over here on the right.
Yeah.
Bro, that's the bare minimum. That is not that big a deal.
It's pretty easy to get there. Once the dog feels like Stoney says this. Stoney actually said this. I'll use a quote from Stoney. If the dog is equally as invested in their success, right? And so the dog needs to be invested in their success as much as I am. If the dog is not equally as invested, then we can't go anywhere. And so like I'll run a program and like the first couple weeks, even like mid program is like getting to that point, right? And then everything falls into place super quickly. I've had dogs, dude, where like I'll have the dog for like my basic obedience program's 22 days long. 10 days before the dog's supposed to go home, I'm like, cool, let's teach you sit.
Sure.
Like I'm building all that all the way up until
like
it's crunch time.
What he means is like a sit that like a bulletproof sit, like a sit, stay in distraction. Because the dog sits on its own and knows what a sit is.
Right. Yeah. So like what I mean by that is like a dog being able to hold a sit stay while under sufficient distraction to the standard of the obedience program, right? So like usually my standard goes, I want to be able to take a dog to like, and my goals for my obedience programs are generally pretty arbitrary, but I think that lends to like a really nice program, right? So two things that I want to see. I want to see the dog committedly running after something that they want and me being able to go, get over here, and then run back to me equally as fast.
How do you teach that?
Generally I usually use classically conditioned cues to do that. So I usually classically condition my recall. So like where I differ from, I think a lot of other people where they teach recall is like they'll use strictly negative reinforcement for this. I start by like dogs in front of me, come, food reward, come, food reward. And I'm talking like, when I talk food reward, I'm talking like spiced up fucking rotisserie chicken. That's the food reward. Like, and you can get, again, using high value food rewards, you can get classically conditioned cues really fucking quick. Add a bit of unfair negative reinforcement to that, or unfair time criteria to the negative reinforcement to that, and then fair time criteria to the negative reinforcement, and bam, we've got a bulletproof recall within like 3 days.
Say those two again, just so I understand. Unfair and then fair.
So when I talk negative reinforcement, generally I talk about time criteria. This is something I got from Paul Edwards. Love him. One of my fucking really good friends. If you don't know who Paul Edwards is, get to know. He's awesome. Time criteria is key to negative reinforcement. Super key to it. So having a moment where I've asked the dog to do something.
Pause.
Have
to pause.
Negative reinforcer.
Yes. Thank you.
Right? You can manipulate that. It doesn't always have to be a hard and fast rule that you pause. Right? So in the beginning of a recall, I will probably, generally what I do for the first couple of repetitions, negatively reinforce, recall, boom. Back chaining it. Dog goes, duh, what is this? Recall. I've heard that before. Does the thing. Aversive goes away. Dog gets back to me, bam, reward.
TWC is freaking out right now.
Oh, they're losing their fucking minds. Now, big thing here. Really big thing here. People will do this for fucking weeks and ruin dogs. You know, like you will do this forever and you ruin a dog this way. What happens is I am creating an urgency for the first couple of repetitions of a behavior. That is all I am doing, right? That is it. And it literally, I'm telling you, is like 4 reps. It's not any, I will maybe even do it 1 rep and then abandon it as soon as that happens and go back to fair time criteria. But doing this creates urgency, right?
So classical conditioning, positive reinforcement, dog's a yard away, you know it's going to turn and come to you, high value reward.
No, I mean, the dogs usually for me, like I will let the dogs get pretty far, like on a flexi line, and I'll use that. And again, we're also using the negative reinforcement of the flexi pulling back on them. Sure. And they get like, they can see the flexi the whole time. So there's a really good like guidance right back to me. Awesome. There's visual cues, there's tactile cues. There's a lot of things to help the dog out through this process.
And do you mark it?
Generally the recall is the mark.
Okay. Come.
So I'll go, come. Reward. And that is the thing. Bam, reward. Come, bam, reward. Come, bam, reward.
Then unfair negative reinforcement.
Unfair time criteria. Yep. Unfair time criteria layered in over a couple of repetitions. Bam. I get it. We're done. It's now I've got going to fair time criteria. Make a choice. Right. And all I was trying to do in the beginning of that is create a sense of urgency, create a sense of like, come on, let's go. We're moving fast. And what I mean is like, I'm not doing stim, pause, command, pause, release. It's literally like either at the same time for the first one or and I mean like at the same time. I say that, but I mean like quite literally. It's like if I have a e-collar right here, it's like come. So it's even a little bit after that. It's like the very tail end of my word. So I've given them the cut. That's what I'm tapping. Cup, tap. You see what I'm saying?
A lot of people think I put in a ton of time for this podcast, and there's going to be clips and there's a little production value. But dude, this podcast in and of itself has given me such a gift, because with the conversations, like the nuance between training, you dedicating an hour and a half on a Sunday to talk through like the methodologies, I think there's something beautiful in long form conversations where we as trainers could learn from each other.
I think so too, for sure. Like that was one thing that like people would argue about me all day long about, right? But like you do that a couple reps, it creates a real sense of urgency because I'm not letting the dog it's the time criteria is still after the command is given because the dog gets a audible cue and then it gets hit, right? So it's not technically at the same time that I'm simming or before. It's never really to before, but it's like cut, tap, and I finish out the word. And I do that a couple of times, and it creates a real sense of urgency to get back to me, plus that fat food reward, which is literally like, I'm talking a handful of rotisserie chicken. You know, you do that 5-6 times, you've got a pretty good recall pretty fast. And like within 3 days, I can get away from the chicken and the dog's bombing back to me, classically conditioned. The dog's not thinking about it anymore. They're bombing back to me. I can use a separate reinforcer to reinforce the recall, and we're moving and grooving. And then it just requires like very little maintenance to maintain because the dog is still getting positively reinforced, even if I take the chicken away.
If you put a dog on place, you're teaching place with just negative reinforcement or just like an elevated surface and gets off, do you mark with an and put it back up?
I don't teach place usually. Well, I mean, I teach it obviously, but
Forget
like if I do it.
Forget place. Do you teach
Not really.
Or wrong? Like how would you how would a dog know if it did something wrong but isn't punished?
Okay, so this goes into like negative reinforcement as it's used, right? So if I ask a dog to heel and they heel with me, we build that up. We don't just go, all right, now you're going to heel with me for 30 minutes. You know, we go heel, dog comes into heel position, mark reward. Heel, dog comes into heel position, mark reward. Heel, couple of steps, mark reward. Heel, couple of steps, mark reward. You build that up like you would any duration cue, right? And then I go, heel, dog's walking with me. If I want to be nice, I can say, and give a little tap. If I want to be nice, but that is me being nice. That is not the dog's that is not required for training. I can say heel, dog walks with me. You know you're supposed to be healing. You leave position, tap, tap, tap. You get back into position. We're healing. This is negative reinforcement does not require the cue, but the cue is the target behavior. So like when we talk negative reinforcement, the biggest thing between negative reinforcement and punishment, right? And this is where people get all frazzled, right? But like there is a target behavior. Everything else is wrong except target behavior.
Sure.
So if I ask the dog to heel, target behavior is heel, and they're sitting, that's not right. If I ask the dog to heel and I say, and they down or sit, this is the one where every trainer will know. You ask the dog to sit and they fucking down instead, right? Negative reinforcement should not stop. Every trainer does this. They'll go sit, dog downs, and then it's like, oh, let me help you. Let me let me get food out, lure you back up into a sit. Like for me, I know the difference between. And I was talking with one of the trainers that I that is doing like a trainer coaching thing with me. I was talking with her last night, and I was saying like one of the differences I find between advanced obedience and basic obedience is the use of negative reinforcement as a tool for discrimination between behaviors, right? And that is my main gauge of whether or not a dog is ready to go home. For, like I said, I have arbitrary goals for my obedience cases. Like that is my main cue to me to let me know this dog's ready to go home. If I say sit and I tap backwards on the leash, tap, 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 and they go into a sit, and I say down and I tap backwards on the leash, I don't tap down. I tap the same way I was earlier. tap, 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 and they go into a down. If I say heel, backwards on the leash, tap, 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 and they go into a heel, I know this dog understands. It's not, oh, I've given some directional cue with my leash and the dog understands the directional cue. Like, the dog should understand I gave a target behavior. Negative reinforcement does not stop until target behavior is achieved. That's just how it's applied. Like,
do you ever use the e-collar instead of the leash in that scenario?
that is the difference to me between a basic and advanced obedience program. Yeah, like me being able to go, like, what I'll give you a test that I do for my advanced obedience programs. I set up a kennel and I set up a place cot.
Okay.
Right? And I generally am not a big fan of teaching place the way that, like, in the sense of like the way people will think of it when I say place, right?
I think in this one you're just giving the dog two choices.
It's a send away. Just go, right? I've told you to send away to one, or I've told you to send away to the other. Kennel is what I use for the dogs to go to their crates, right? Yeah. Place is what I use for the dog to go to an elevated cot, right? Or like a park bench or whatever it is. If I'm standing directly across from them and they're right next to each other and I say place and the dog goes into their kennel, they're not right. If I'm tapping the E and they're going, this isn't right, and they jump right out of the kennel and go onto the place board, I know they're ready. I didn't have to say it again. You knew that wasn't right. You went to the place board. You had a choice. You made the wrong one. You understood that was the wrong one. You went to the right one. And vice versa. If I send the dog to the kennel and they go to the place board, it's the same thing. So like, that's a thing I'll set up. Like, I'll set that up and I'll go kennel and they'll run into the crate. Mark, reward. Nice job. Right. And reward in this case could be freedom, play, food, whatever. Right. Same thing. Send dog to place. They choose one or the other based off of the one that I said. It's not based off of the one they choose. It's the target behavior I asked for. That is that is negative reinforcement. It's like target behavior. You have to be super specific with negative reinforcement. You have to be. So like, something I'll do is like, especially with free walking. This is where people, I think, get really confused about free walking and stuff. Is like, the dog's free to make whatever choices they want, right? And people will go, oh, well, like, they'll go up to people and we'll negatively reinforce free walking. It's like, free walking is not a target behavior. There is no specific walking happening there. There's nothing going on. Like, you are not negatively reinforcing anything. You are punishing the dog for going up to people. Regardless of intensity, it was a punishment. You added an aversive to discourage a behavior. You didn't identify a target behavior and encourage the dog to do so. Does that make sense?
Well, for sure, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's not what my wheels are spinning. My wheels are spinning twofold. One, what mistakes do I make? What mistakes can I correct? Because always as humans, you know, we say we know the things in theory, but we also have bad habits that are running in our subconscious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I snap a lot. Like, that's a bad habit of mine that, like, all my clients know I snap a lot, right? And it's like, it is a cue for the dog, regardless of like whatever. Although I try to make sure I'm a robot towards the end of programs so that the dog's performing like that's a bad behavior of mine for sure.
I'm also thinking, like, for the everyday owner, and like, how much of the stuff that you teach, not that it transfers, it all transfers, but the precision with which you do it in, I can't imagine any dog owners are that precise, or the dogs would never arrive to you.
Nope. So like, one of the biggest things that like I do when I send a dog home is like, I don't expect my owners to do that. My job's done. So I should have done my job properly. I don't expect an owner to do that. 90% of the time when a dog asks their dog owner that I've trained to do something, the dog should do it without the e-collar being involved. The dog should do it without the prong, without the whatever. Like, another one of the things I do like at the very end of a program is I take the e-collar off and I send the dog to go chase wildlife and I recall him.
You do, but what about the owner?
I expect them to be able to do it too, for sure. That's why if you've seen my Instagram, like, my go home process is very long. Like, I take a very long time for my go home process. They're usually
how long? How many?
They're usually like 2 hours long over the course of 3 days. And if a client needs more time, I allot the entire day for them. Like, you have my day.
Wow.
Yeah, I want my owners to really know what they're talking about. You know, like I had in that negative reinforcement video I talked about earlier, one of my owners came in and this was I trained that dog like 2 years ago, right? She came in and was telling someone in the comments textbook definitions of how to use an aversive, how to use negative reinforcement, right? Like I'm talking very precise trainer style like talk to someone in the comments. And I'm like, that is exactly what I want for my owners. Like I want my owners to understand this at a level that like they could train a dog themselves.
2 questions to wrap. Where do you see Kehli Bare Knuckle in 5 years?
I hope I'm still training dogs.
Of course. What are you
like truly for me, like my goals when I started training dogs was that I want to be unironically, and this sounds so never mind. This sounds so like uppity about myself, but I wanted to be known as one of the best for behavior modification specifically. The second thing, I wanted to be known as one of the best in sport. Period. Point blank, I wanted to be known as one of the best, up there with some of the great names that we have been talking about here, like Michael Ellis, Forrest Mick, Paul Edwards, Stoney Dennis. Like I want to be known as one of those trainers that people look at and like really, really, really want to work with. That's me. That's what I want for me. That's what I want for the business. But truly, like I don't even think that far ahead. I take it one dog at a time. I take it as I'm going. Like I just like to have fun goofing off with dogs. Like really. And so in 5 years, if I'm still having fun goofing off with dogs, I'll be happy.
I was going to ask you who are your influences, but you just literally mentioned them a second ago. What do you like about Forrest Mick? I've heard the name. I haven't had a chance to dive in.
Oh, dude, he's wonderful. He's wonderful.
He's wonderful.
Forrest is like a hippie. He's like this. He's a very, very precise trainer. He's a super duper mellow guy, like very down to earth and incredibly thoughtful in his training. And I like that thoughtfulness, right? I think a lot of trainers kind of just do stuff. They just do what they think they need to do. But like he is incredibly thoughtful about everything he does. And he even says something that I say all the time. Reward helpfully and reward thoughtfully. And I love that. I love that.
You're the man, Kehli. I think people are going to take a ton of value. Bare Knuckle Dog Training, just like that on Instagram. Must follow. Any final words before I let you go?
Thank you. I'm humbled to have been asked to come on to a podcast. I appreciate it, man.